This episode may contain sensitive topics. Discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to the Lusty Lounge. One of our hosts will be with you in a moment.
Thank you, D.A.R.E, for the intro. Also, gonna have to put an extended trigger warning for the bad incest, rape, drugs,
abortion,
suicide, and some fifth thing I'm forgetting. But hi, I am your host, Suna. Welcome to an all-new episode of the Lusty Lounge podcast. Sit back, relax, allow us to indulge you in some degenerate type bullshit. With me are my typical guests. Puce, you go first.
What's up, everybody?
Hi, it's me, Noodle.
And we have our second returning guest of 2025. Do you want to say hi, or are you going to be introduced?
I can introduce myself. Hello, my name is misterretsim. I've been on the podcast twice before. I am a smut author that specializes in hyper and futa and other ridiculous shit.
So, Puce finally got what he wanted. We read Metamorphosis. He paid me.
No, can I unwant this?
No. Remember, you wanted this you wanted this since Minka was here, and you finally got what you fucking wanted. It's funny because in the same day, he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna start reading the Bible too," and we were just like, me and Minka were just like,
Whoa.
"He's gonna need it, but we aren't gonna type that." And then he was like, "I need Jesus," and I'm like, "Yeah."
You know what's funny? Somehow I have 4 Bibles in my house.
Same.
I don't know how they got there.
You know what? We not here talking about
They're not there to protect
Jesus.
you. You're already fucked.
So we brought Mr. Redsum to talk about the story because Puce wanted to talk about the story for so fucking long, and now we're here. So we figured, why not bring an author to talk about a story? Because that makes sense.
Hey, we got to decide if the writing's good or not.
No, the writing was great, but like, I'm sad. I don't want to be sad. For 2013, this is great.
Well, how much writing had something L?
Shindo
L. How much writing had Shindo L done before this is the question.
Not a clue.
And I feel like it was a lot.
I have no idea.
I wish I could give a definitive answer.
All I know is he wrote Monogatari, and it's got some Futanari in it, so I'll read it at some point one day. Also, we're all drinking to cope with the pain. I forgot about that.
Wait.
If you saw Twitter, and I guess Facebook, you saw the pictures of the drinks we had to drink to endure.
Hold on. Pause.
What are we wedding? Why are we paused?
Oh, a different Monogatari. Okay.
Yeah, no, not Neeson's Monogatari.
That's what I thought
no.
you meant. I was like, shit, is that the same person? You scared
No.
me for a second. All right, never mind. I know what you're talking about.
Mr. M, is there what's the discography word for writing history?
Your bibliography.
That's it. Thank you.
I'm not upset you responded so fast. I'm more upset I forgot what that word meant.
JoJo ending is much better.
It looks like this was pretty early in Shindo L's bibliography. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what Metamorphosis is, it's a famous hentai manga, about a first-year high school student named Saki Yoshida who makes some unfortunate decisions that ruins and then takes her life.
Spoilers.
Unless you read the JoJo ending.
Unless you read the JoJo ending.
That was an excellent, short summary. So, thank you.
So, to start from the beginning, she's a first-year high school student, right? And at the beginning of the story, she's kind of like a loser with no friends. And sort of by accidental...
What do you mean kind of, nigga? No, she is a loser with no friends. Literally
okay,
none.
She is a loser, with no friends, kind of by design, because she's I shunned people because I thought it was weird, and then I got lonely, and then nobody wanted to hang out with me because I shunned them. So she goes to her mom one day and is like, Mom, teach me how to put on makeup and do my hair. And the mom takes her to get her hair done. And I wrote this specifically. This was the first note I wrote in my entirety of my notes. She mentions on the day of her middle school graduation, when all of this first happens, at least in the translation I was reading, there was the sentence, she hadn't spoken to her mother for a while. What the fuck does that mean? How are you 14 years old living with your parents and you haven't spoken to your mother for a while?
Slightly interject.
Yeah,
as somebody who didn't grow up with the best household, my mom wasn't very keen on like teaching me how to be a woman. She wasn't very happy about it. It was apprehension. I didn't speak to her very much. I was very reliant on like my dad more than I was her, because we just didn't get along. Also, like, she was working so often, so I can kind of understand that. Like, even taking my own, like, from going into high school, like, I asked my mom to do my hair and my makeup, so I kind of, like, in a moment relate. And also it did, like, I also developed around this age. I kind of understand slightly of what, like, what's going on for the main character in Metamorphosis. Only just this tiny,
and I totally get that.
As a woman who didn't get to, like, convey and meet with my mom on a mutual level.
I get that. And I think that's probably a good portion of it, especially if she was as in, like, socially awkward and stuff as she made it seem. I do think, however, that it might have been a slight translation issue where, like, not spoken to my mother meant more like not spoken beyond, like, passing pleasantries kind of thing. Like, we sat down at the table and my mother asked me how school was and I said fine, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that's more so
I agree.
on the level.
But it still struck me as funny of this 14-year-old who lives at home with her family being like, I haven't spoken to my mother in a while.
To be fair, that it
like
does
that
sound
sometime.
like if a 14-year-old said that to me, I'd be like, yeah, you're dramatizing it, but I get what you
I
mean.
guess, yeah.
It still made me laugh.
I'm confused with the big
Understandable.
words. I also like how that's your first note. My first note is, hey, this whole thing could have been avoided if she had been like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to see what these other kids are into nowadays.
Well, she does, and then she gets hooked on drugs.
No, she does in high school. She's in middle. I mean, at middle school, because they were asking her in middle school, and she's like, "Nah." And I'm like, "Don't you want to know what like shit's like?"
Well,
No. Okay, all right. That's weird.
Obvious moral of the story is to never come out of your shell and be a loner loser for the rest of your life. That's the only way to not get raped and addicted to drugs.
That's one way. I would go with try saying yes sometimes.
Well, she did.
Try
and then
making
she
a
got
friend?
addicted to drugs.
I was going to say,
Nigga,
try saying no
try,
more.
Try saying yes to when your friends go, let's do this thing. And you'd be like, you know what? Let's try this thing.
Hey, saying yes once is what led to it all.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
she gets a makeover, makes some friends, finds a cute adult man
Assumingly
at a store.
nice person.
Wait. He, okay, I feel like I'm gonna argue with you a lot this time.
Okay.
I wouldn't say meet more. He didn't set a trap, but he saw a cute girl and go, "Oh, she look easy. I got this."
Sure, that's still meeting somebody. She is seduced by an older gentleman who invites her to a karaoke bar.
I like that better.
Gives her alcohol for the first time, which has the very poignant thing where she's like, "Oh, is this alcohol? I've never had alcohol." And he's like, "It's like juice, or it's more like juice. Don't worry about it, but it's so good you'll get addicted to it." Foreshadowing.
True.
And then they do ecstasy together and have sex in the booth, the karaoke booth, which he leaves her there by herself, puts his number in her phone, and is like, "Hope you wake up before the workers find you so they don't rape you." Which she does wake up before the workers find her, and she does not get raped yet.
Okay, my translation was different. My translation said a worker found her and she ran away.
Yeah, that's my direct translation as well.
So the ending of the first part is she goes home, and she has a text on her phone from the guy whose name is Hayato?
Yeah.
And
H-A-Y-A.
he's like, "Hey, we should do this again,
Oh.
but next time at a hotel." And that's the end of the first chapter. First volume.
Oh, I have a question.
Chapter volume,
What's your
whatever
question,
the fuck.
Puce?
First, I couldn't figure out where the chapters ended and began, but that's a different problem. But also, at least online, people refer to these chapters as episodes.
That's...
Well, yeah, they're technically individual stories until they get combined into a tankobon.
Yeah. That's just like
That explains it.
semantics of like how people refer to it. Chapters, episodes, whatever.
I'm sorry for referring to it as an episode.
No, you're fine. It's
fine.
I was curious as to why it was going on. So
They're both
confused.
right, just for this particular set, because it is a book you can buy for $60 fucking dollars.
I saw that.
These are chapters. Well, the hardcover is $60. I'm not gonna. I don't know how much the soft cover is.
I bad. I want it just to have in my collection.
Is it bad that I feel the same way?
I mean, it would be. It's a conversation
really.
Piece.
It is a conversation.
Hey, want to read this
Just
hentai that
come
has
there.
its own Wikipedia page?
Oh
True.
no! I just want it for it to sit there, just so I'm sad about it, just to be a part of like my pain.
Whenever I need to feel
sadness.
depressed, I can just look at my bake case and be like, Saki, you deserved better.
She did deserve
She
it.
did.
She did deserve better.
So true.
The first time he fucks her,
Yeah.
he nuts in her, and he's like, it's fine. Then he keeps going. He's like, man, I hope I don't get pregnant. I'm over here like, oh, the foreshadowing kind of hurt.
Oh, yeah, there was some foreshadowing.
Kind of.
Also, I wanted to...
That hurt a lot.
Speaking of that, something I wanted to point out that was also, like, one of those weird things that I always find weird when I do read, like, a doujin is...
Mm-hmm.
He goes, wow, you're moaning even though you're a virgin? Like, you must be a whore, like a natural whore. And it's like, do you want her to not enjoy it? What is
her
wrong
like
with
that?
you
Like,
people?
damn. Bro, listen. You weren't
Yeah, I
allowed to
think
express yourself in Japan. That's what I learned.
I think it's more about gaslighting her into enjoying
Oh,
it more.
yeah.
Fully gaslighting her into it. Yeah.
But I've noticed that it's like a common thing in doujins when somebody loses their virginity. If they enjoy it, the other person's always like, you're a whore for enjoying your first time. And it's like, hey, not everybody's first time sucked ass.
No, they have to sell you the illusion that your first time is going to be great.
You know.
Of course they do. That's what it's like for everyone.
Yep, totally.
I thought the thing was like the stereotype is that your first time is always awful. My first time was fine.
Not in other countries.
That's fair. I am not Japanese from Japan.
I feel like the West, it makes us feel like we're supposed to enjoy our first time.
Mine was fine.
And then, especially in Japan, it's very much, if you enjoy it, you are a
Well,
whore.
and I think it's
they
also
almost
the
do it backwards.
I think if there's a cultural difference in how sex is viewed when it comes to pleasure for both partners in the West versus in certain Eastern countries, especially Asia, where, especially if you watch a lot of porn made in Japan, the women aren't always made out to be like really enjoying it. Their reactions, as staged as they are often a little bit more.
I know what you're saying. Hassan made this similar point on a different podcast. He's like, I can't do Japanese porn because it sounds like they're in pain. And I'm like, oh, this nigga's spitting. No, he right.
Hassan, the like
right, maybe
famous podcaster, Hassan the Hun. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Is there another Hassan?
Well, I didn't know if you guys had somebody named Hassan on your podcast. I haven't listened to every single episode of your guys' stuff.
Ah, you slacking.
I know.
That's a joke. Don't feel bad.
Well, there's the whole thing where she, like, in addition to the gaslighting stuff we go before, he's like, I forget who says it first, but one of them says, I love you. And then the guy is like, yeah, I love you. Of course I love you. We wouldn't be having sex. Yeah, I figured she said it first. I couldn't remember exactly who. But, that also, she gets manipulated by this older, more experienced man who's probably done this a bunch of times and uses love against her, which continues pretty far into the story. I want to say until like chapter 5 or so.
I want to say up until, well, yeah.
Spoilers. Like, he kicks her out, and then she's immediately texting him, like, it's my fault. I love you. Sorry. I'll do better.
Wild. Stop. Whatever you about to say, stop.
Censor yourself.
Good girl.
Refuse the censorship. Noodle.
Look, I get it. While not as extreme, I went through that breakup last year. Sometimes in the midst of love, you say some stupid stuff that otherwise you should never say.
As somebody who was in not the best relationship at one point, I'm not gonna label it.
We'll just say toxic. We'll move on.
Abusive. You just say that you say you say the things that feel right in the moment at the extent of either being okay, being safe, or quelling the other person's emotions.
Especially in a first-time relationship, all the feelings you experience, you don't know how to label them correctly.
I'm gonna eat you alive.
Mine wasn't a first-time relationship, but after 8.5 years, you kind of will do anything to hold on to that relationship.
I agree.
Knowing the rumors and the things I've heard about Metamorphosis, first time reading it, I was like, oh boy, this is going to get a lot worse, and it's definitely not getting better.
I mean, chapter 1 is very much still the, not bad chapter. It's fucked up morally, but it's still, by doujin standards, as fucked up as this is to say, it's pretty standard.
This is tame. This is tame.
This is tame, yeah.
Par for the course. This is sadly a 1 or a 2 on the scale.
We get into chapter 2. She's maybe, I don't even know if I would say popular, but she's got friends. She's attractive. She's had her makeover. She's more confident now that she's got her boyfriend that she keeps having sex while on ecstasy with.
Can we use a different word, please?
To what?
As he says, sex friend.
Yeah, because she said that, and I was like, bitch. Well, yeah, for narrative purposes, yeah.
She, Saki, thinks that Hayato and her are an exclusive boyfriend-girlfriend thing. She refers to him as her boyfriend. Hayato, though, which will come up later, refers to her specifically as my fuck buddy. So, there's a power imbalance there and how they each view the relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's chatting with her friends. Her friends are like, oh, look at all this designer shit that I have. Yeah, bags and bracelets that I'm not supposed to have and shit like that. And she kind of lets off that her family doesn't have money like that, and somebody's like, oh, you should get a part-time job. And then another friend of hers is like, oh, you should do basically be a sugar baby for a rich guy. That's what I do. Here's how to do it.
Bro, she got set out so bad. I was like, this is your fault. It's not all your fault. This is partly your fault. Because that bitch got blindsided. She was not prepared for the amount of fuckery.
And again, there's already that continued womanly societal pressure on her. She's going to fall behind socially if she doesn't have the nice things, if she's not getting money. Her friends are doing this sugar baby, sugar dating kind of stuff. So she goes along with it. She goes on a date with an older businessman who is much older, her father's age. He gives her some money, and at first he's like, oh, you just got to let me cop a feel and I'll give you money. And she's like, all right. But then they go to a hotel and she gives him sex. They have sex together for more money. I will say, because I mentioned earlier when we were talking before the podcast, this was the only point actually in the story where I was like, oh, this is kind of arousing. And it's specifically because there was a size comparison mention where the old guy was like, I'm bigger than your boyfriend. And I was like, oh, that's my shit right there. But not in this context.
Yeah, I can definitely see this as the boyfriend part. I can see some interest in by folks. This part I can see some interest in, and then it takes a nosedive.
Oh yeah, no. Once we get to chapter 3, I'm just I checked out, mentally checked out.
Yeah, my emotions were.
We knew what to expect. Puce didn't.
So she gets essentially kind of manipulated by this older gentleman who gives her a whole lot of money, at least by teenage Japanese girl standards, to have sex.
Yeah.
And then the chapter ends with some very unfortunate foreshadowing where she goes home and her mom's there. And they have a touching moment where her mom says, I'll always be here for you, Saki.
Pain. Just straight pain.
So that's pretty much all of chapter 2. How do we feel about the proceedings of chapter 2?
My emotions hurt, and I feel so bad that I kept reading.
Yeah, me too. On some real shit.
But I just need to know how to end.
Oh, wait.
Oh, so doe-eyed? I feel like it's to emphasize the innocence, because as she
100%,
gets
100%.
As as she gets more corrupted, I say, her eyes like slightly close a bit more, and they lose that life look.
Oh yeah, no, that's a Shindo L special right there.
Yeah.
I lied. Technically, the end of chapter 2 is she shows up at school the next day, and she gets cornered by some male classmates who are seemingly intending to blackmail her because they have a picture of her walking into the Love Hotel with the older businessman.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of a dead giveaway in Japan.
Yeah.
Man, we ain't gonna talk about that. What are your guys' notes? Because
good question,
Mr. Retsim, you told me how you take notes. Puce, I've seen how you take notes. I'm just like, what the fuck? So
to be fair, I was kind of taking bullet points of what we need to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's how you did yours. Because all I got is why her thighs so thick all of a sudden. God, I hate kids. And we not gonna count this as cheating because that's not her boyfriend. So it's okay. This is fine for the context.
She definitely cheated on
okay.
her boyfriend, not boyfriend. At least she thinks it's cheating.
Yes.
He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I had one actual good note that wasn't just like a reminder of shit that happened, and that was at one point when she's having sex with the older businessman. He says something along the lines of like, "This is your place as a woman.
This is your purpose."
Yeah, this is your purpose.
Yep.
And I think that contextually in the narrative of the story is like a constant thing of how it's something that will stay true in Saki's mind until the end, where she constantly feels like her place as a woman is
as a whole,
paying with her body, having sex with men, pleasing men in whatever way that she can. And I thought that was
my rice and potatoes.
Even if it seems like a throwaway, like typical doujin kind of line, where it's just like, you're a woman, you're only good for sex, which is, you can read that in 1,000 places. In the context of Metamorphosis, it was fitting because of how the rest of the narrative unfolds.
Yeah, it very much feeds into the rest of the story.
Otherwise, my notes were sex multiple times a week, drug addict, mom comforts her, ends with blackmail.
I very much as much as I can say appreciated. I appreciated the like slow build up of her like realizing sex is like quote unquote the good part of what she can be as a woman. That this is what she should be doing to pleasure other people in her life, and that her like the way to get her to her own happiness is through sex and drugs.
Well, it's continuously reinforced into her.
Yeah.
Non-stop. Right. It's like this is her purpose as being a whole, through like blackmail and through her want of appraisal and approval through
I got that in my notes for next chapter.
Homie, I can't remember his name.
Hayato?
The fuck buddy.
Yeah.
Ito.
Yeah, Hayato.
And as well as like, I'm gonna hold off on that one because I guess spoilers, because she still seeks like approval from someone else.
And to go off of that, it's also like, Japan is a culture that is a lot more conservative about sex and that kind of thing. There's a whole thing where like everybody is telling her you're just a whore because she likes sex. And she likes sex right off the bat, and realizes even with the old man, she likes sex, drugged or not, where it's sort of like in her mind, she doesn't necessarily know any better, where it's like, oh, I do like sex. I am a woman. And because I like sex as a woman, I am a whore.
That is true. This is the first time we see her enjoy sex outside of also being on drugs.
Well, it's only the third sex scene. So
sure, but it is mentioned in...
Well, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it is mentioned, for those who haven't read Metamorphosis, it is mentioned in the beginning of the second chapter.
Don't read it.
Yeah, don't read it, first of all. It's not worth it.
Please don't read it.
Whenever she has sex with her quote-unquote boyfriend Hayato, they're always high on ecstasy.
And that's just about all they do when they
Yeah, and that's all they do. They go to love hotels and they fuck.
And karaoke bars.
Yeah, karaoke bars.
For some reason, I read that like, oh, I just fucking hate kids, man.
Everybody's favorite place to fuck.
Yeah.
So before we transition into chapter 3, and I like finish my drink really fast because this made me sad. You two were talking about how it's okay for her to be like Yeah, sex is cool. I have a long note. Nope, wait. Nope, never mind. I lied. It's going to come in later. Mr. Resum, go ahead.
Okay, so we're moving on to chapter 3.
Yep.
Chapter 2 ends with her being cornered by a group of male students at her school who have a picture of her with the older gentleman going into or leaving your love hotel, and they're blackmailing. Chapter 3 starts off with her blowing the ringleader of the story, giving a blowjob to the ringleader of the group, and then all the other guys are like, I want to fuck you. And she's like, no, we settled on only blowjobs as long as you don't share that picture. And then she goes home.
Okay, wait.
Holding my
breath. Let me slide in my note, please.
Okay.
Holding your breath. So, this is the point where I'm like, okay, this bitch is just somewhat hypersexual and a few other things. We'll get to those later. That's okay. Being hypersexual is fine. We had Puce. What was your VTuber's friend? Your VTuber friend name?
Oh, Mrs. Mummy?
Yeah, she said she was hypersexual and she does it safely. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it's okay to be hypersexual as long as you're safe. And then he patted her head and she was like, damn, I kind of like this too. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So
that's fine too, but like,
I had the same note about the head pat.
Oh no. So I don't know if it's the sucking dick that's making her happy or if it's the head pat and getting that positive reinforcement.
It's
and
the
I'm like,
it's the positive
you dumb bitch.
It's the once again reassurance that she is doing something well when she is pleasing a man sexually.
Yeah, it's the good job of it that
it's
she's
the
like,
gratification.
I like
it's
it.
the approval.
Yeah.
That is what strives her to do it more. It feeling the approval, because you also have to understand she's being ostracized by her classmates.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Soon.
Soon
TM.
Slowly.
TM. Okay, I'll give you that because they like, why is she acting all snooty? And I'm like, don't y'all have other friends? Like none of y'all girls got boyfriends?
Like slowly.
Like not one, really?
Slowly she is.
Well, they might have boyfriends,
issues.
but not the boys, quote unquote.
Well, yeah. So one of the next scenes is Saki is like at school, normal class, and she's getting all the attention from the guys because they all know that they're going to get like a blowjob or whatever from her after school or later. And all of her girlfriends from the last chapter, the ones who were like, oh yeah, do the sugar baby thing if you want to make money, are like doing the stereotypical like jealous catty, like, oh, she thinks she's better than us. She's getting the attention from all the guys at the school. Why does she get all the attention? Why does she get to act like this?
Granted, she's also like kind of weird and awkward still in school because she's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. And I'm like, oh, you dumb idiot child.
Yeah, it very much feeds into the I'm still saying yes because if I don't say yes, this might not make me cool.
Well, and on top of that, it's also the fact that she's being blackmailed.
I feel like the word you're missing is like peer pressure.
Yeah, it's peer pressure, but on top of that, it's
I fucking hate kids.
She's being blackmailed, and she doesn't want to tell her friends that she's being blackmailed and saying like, "Hey, the reason these guys are like cornering me every 30 seconds is because they found out that I maybe fucked some old guy at a love hotel," which, you know. Also, there's a fear...
To be like, per your all's instructions.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's talk about that. Why didn't she ever go back to them and be like, so did any of y'all have to do any of this shit? Or was it just me? Like what's y'all experience? I'm like, this is why I fucking hate kids.
The friends tell them the experience beforehand, which is...
You just have to say
have to say no and be like, oh, like, if you want to do this, I'll take pictures of you and, like, ruin your life. And, like, you just have to be flirty, you know, let him touch your breast or whatever, and then you get your money and go. But Saki didn't do that.
So...
No, she let it get
too far. She tried. Well, it didn't work.
Far. I'm not going to say she let it. It got too far for her to be able to say no.
Yeah.
Well, she still said no. She was like, no, don't put it in.
So she doesn't want to be...
Well, she very much got pressured into continuing.
Exactly.
Yes.
And she doesn't want to be...
Coercion. She was... Coercion.
Yeah.
Coercion.
She was coerced.
Oh, you're drunk. Oh, you're
coerced.
drunk.
No, I can't speak English in the first place. Don't be mean.
So here's my biggest, like, issue. She didn't say, hey, this happened to me. What the fuck do I do now? Because this didn't happen to y'all. Like, what do y'all do?
Because of the shame.
Okay.
Fuck the shame. Bitch, help me. Bitch, help Me!
Can't be a woman in Japan who likes sex. She has shame. She failed the social test.
Now.
She failed the social test. Her friend said, yo, this is how you do it. You go in, you let them grope you a little. If they try to go any further, you threaten to ruin their lives. They give you money. You fuck off. She didn't do that. She failed. She failed it. She failed the social test.
Then that bitch should have asked for help. Or
She can't do that. That's a failing of the social test.
As a woman! As a woman!
What do you want, Noodle?
Rude, first of all. Second of all, that is not how that works. You have to understand, because of the group that she's with, more than likely, they're gonna fucking turn on her.
Yeah.
If she tried to ask for help, they were going to turn on her. They were gonna call her a whore, a slut, and probably do much worse. Because they were already... But you also have to understand, even in Western shit, even in Western issues, you're still going to get slut shamed even by the people you're with. Even by the people who call you their friends.
Okay, so that's where it's very different for boys and girls. Because if it was a bunch of niggas, they'd be like, yeah, do it again.
What if they weren't black?
Yeah, Whitey, do it again.
Whitey. Oh my god.
This made me realize I fucking hate kids. Even in my notes is God, I fucking hate kids.
I mean, you know...
Honestly, yeah, that's what I was
thinking. When you get to the 7th and final chapter, you know, you really hate kids.
We'll talk about that
also
later.
True.
Continue?
We get to talk about the unhappiness now.
So...
Well, was that the whole third chapter?
So, no.
Right?
No, Puce.
The other thing happens in the 3rd chapter. Okay. Saki comes home from her day of being blackmailed at school. Okay, so Dad gets laid off, but obviously he was the breadwinner. Anyway, Saki goes, I'll help, let me get a part-time job. I'll help you, pay rent till you get another job. And the mom is like, no, or her dad is like, no, you don't need to. Focus on your studies, you'll make me worried. And then the mom is like, that's right, dear. This is verbatim. Saki's already a grown woman now. And the dad goes,
And then the 4 or 5
a grown woman. And then there's 4 panels. Saki's mouth, neck, collarbone area, which I'll refrain from saying. Knees/thighs, kind of half upskirt, and then the breasts. With the clear implication being, these signs of Saki's puberty, whatever stage it might have been at, signifies her as a woman in the eyes of society, or at least the society she's part of. Then Dad stands up and says, I need to go buy a pack of cigarettes. And Saki goes,
Since when has Dad smoked?
And Mom is like,
never.
Dad was going out to get shit-faced. Now, do we have anything to say before we get to the next part?
No.
I wish it ended.
So, for those who haven't read it, the rest of the manga goes, Saki gets a job, helps them out, the family gets back on their feet, and they all live happily ever after. She dumps her loser boyfriend, she calls the cops on the guys at school, her friends forgive her, and that's the end. Goodbye, I'll see y'all next time.
Thanks, guys. If you like what you heard, search Lusty Lounge on...
All right, later, man.
Yep, I wish that worked.
So... Since we don't have anything to add besides that,
not yet. We don't.
What happens is, Dad comes home, drunk, walks into Saki's room, and rapes her, comparing her to her mother at that age, saying that, chastising her first of all for not being a virgin,
wild, mad,
whole thing, telling her to be quiet because Mom is sleeping in the next door. And then comparing her again and again to how much she is like her mother, sexually. And that's a good portion of the middle of the 3rd chapter.
Yeah, this is where I was like, I almost want to stop and just tell them, nope, I'm done. I don't want to do this episode. I'm good.
He didn't want to admit defeat, and I gotta respect him for it. Because the first time I read this, I'm like, all right, I'm done. This isn't the hot kind of incest Japari makes. So fuck all this.
This isn't the hot kind of incest. No, I mean, this is, and I get what Puce is saying. This is, not Puce, the other guy.
Tuna.
The alcohol.
I love that he doesn't know my name.
The alcohol.
I love that he doesn't know my name.
The alcohol is hitting. I'm sorry. The alcohol.
Oh, he even used my line.
I am like 7 shots into this recording.
My only notes were incest, rape, sad face.
I mean,
and then in capitals, nigga, you have a perfectly good wife right there with
perfectly preserved
literally.
wife just in the other room.
She's just soggy, but taller. Titty's about the same, ass is about the same. Nigga, go 7 feet. You know what? We're in Japan. Go like 10 meters to your left and go just go assault your wife. Don't go assault your daughter, which still really bad, really fucked up. But nigga, why? Shindo, why? I didn't need that. Like, his wife's even kind of cute. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I can see how they got a kid. I'm confused how it's just one, but be like that.
Japan and their declining birth rates.
2%.
Yeah, so it's really not the, like, normal doujin kind of incest. It is very much more emotional.
It's not the good kind.
Yeah, it's not the good kind, sorry.
It's not the good kind.
It is very much like rapey incest. I mean, the unfortunate part is that Saki is portrayed as like, she has conflicting feelings about it, but she does come, which we're going to get into some real shit here. Not maybe a large percentage, but it is a known thing that women who are sexually assaulted often experience an orgasm from being just generally overstimulated. And I think that a sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like reading between the lines here is that in the future, or like not even in the future, but in the moment, that sort of is like further hammering it down to Saki.
She's a pervert.
That
as somebody as a victim, you can't control your bodily response. It's mostly a bodily response of like all of it just building up. You can't control it. It is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's regardless of mental state.
Yeah.
The body will still respond.
I feel like we get what you're saying. My personal problem is she's like, damn, it felt kind of good though. And I'm like, why?
I mean, and
I feel like that's the hentai peaking.
Also,
It's like,
it's also
we
the
still
hentai
gotta
peaking
make it
there.
sound like it was enjoyable.
yeah.
I'm out of alcohol.
I mean, this is still like written to be like, orgasmed too.
Disagree.
Hey, this is labeled as a hentai. There are people who must have.
Look, I'm
enjoyed
looking
this.
at a vagina of Saki's. She has so many. On my other monitor
Horrifying answer.
of all of her vaginas. Anyway, so this is really like, I'm not gonna say the first, but probably the first very like severe part of the Metamorphosis story.
Yeah.
As a whole. There's some fucked up stuff before she gets blackmailed and has to blowjob some guys because they blackmail her. She fucks a guy on drugs a bunch of times and thinks that he's her boyfriend while he's just like, yeah, that's some bitch, and fucks that old guy. But like contextually within the hentai sphere, that is very standard, as shitty as that might sound. The incest with the dad and the way that it's portrayed is very much like, to some degree, like a real betrayal, hard-hitting, her dad's raping her. All right. So,
Yes.
Still in chapter 3, we go back to school. She's being blackmailed. Now the guys that are blackmailing her are having sex with her. However, they are wearing condoms. But as I'm looking at some page of this, one of the guys says, can't we just fuck her raw already? As if they're like expecting it to happen, which is fucked up. So she's having sex.
It's the location. These stupid ass teenagers are like, yeah, next to the stairwell. And I'm like, my brothers in Christ, you have a roof. And this is Japan and a manga. So that bitch is probably unlocked. Why didn't you think to go up there?
An empty classroom, the bathroom. anywhere that's not directly
out
in
in
front
the
of every
open, I'm
student.
just like, all right.
Look,
Well,
I can't
fucking hate
judge
kids.
because I did some stuff not that similar, but within the same context of doing sexual stuff out in the open during high school while I was in high school.
So they get caught because he sticks it in her ass? Question mark.
She comes and she's too loud.
She gets blackmail sexed at school.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to class and she finds that a bunch of shit like slut and pervert. No. Okay, yeah, maybe, but the point is she
literally eats super loud, and he's like, "Oh no, our homeroom teacher, Mr. Da-da-da, is coming, and we should probably get out of here." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, but it doesn't say she gets caught by like a teacher.
The teacher shows up.
No, not at least not in my version.
I think Suna's correct.
My only note about that is, bitch, what did you think was gonna happen?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking.
You
so
go
I'm
to a
looking at the
Japanese
page.
high school.
So, Saki runs out of school. She runs home because she wants to cry in a place where other people can't see her. She gets home, and what is she greeted by? Well, she's like, calling back to the end of the second chapter. She's like, Mom can help me. We're going to go talk to Mom.
About that.
She goes home.
About that.
What is she greeted by, folks?
You got this, Puce.
Her mother yelling at her.
And her mother has discovered what happened.
That she's been fucking her
yes.
father.
Except...
Not her father fucking her. Her fucking her father.
I feel like there was like something I meant to compare it to, and I couldn't remember what it was. But basically, the mom blames Saki for doing it instead of putting the blame where it does belong on her husband, the father, and says, "You're such a liar, you seduced him, you slept with him, took advantage of him while he was drunk," and then she kicks Saki out.
It's very much the stereotypical, it's the girl's fault, it's the fault of the attractive young girl's fault for the older man fucking her, not the other way.
I mean, it's the whole, like, you see it get criticized or brought up a lot online where it's like, was anybody else a 12-year-old girl being told by their parents to cover up when male relatives were coming over as if it was our fault? It's that kind of concept.
Yeah, Noodle, did that happen to you?
What?
Noodle, that...
Oh, Noodle.
What the...
I thought that was just a general question. I was like, no, I'm a guy.
No.
Not the incest rape part that, hey, cover up.
The hey, cover up, yes. That's not fair, though. I have big boobs. That doesn't count.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, but it's your fault you have big boobs.
That's not... Actually, you know what?
It kind of is. Because after what you told me about your mom, yeah, no, you it might be your fault.
Rude.
Accurate.
I do sit in an H cup now, so
we'll talk about that later. We'll talk in the DM about that later.
Shut up.
So me being the angry black man I am would have been like, nah, we fighting. You gonna fucking listen to what I got to say, whether you like it or not. You're not just gonna kick me out. We gonna fight. Like, we incline your knuckles, hoisting gauntlets. We fighting.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of fucked up stuff happen there, especially because the dad literally doesn't say anything like the entire time. He just
sitting there.
Sits there, hands crossed in the fucking Gendo pose.
Well, it seems very much like the mother confronted the father.
Yes,
and the father's like, "Oh, she came on to me. I couldn't say no."
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean you couldn't say no? Bitch, kick her in the stomach and move on.
Well, no, it's like, she took advantage of me while I was drunk. Oh, this is all reading between the lines, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, but
this is very much
the fact we knew it. To us, the reader, we knew it happened quite often. But like the mom was like, "It happened last night," and I'm like.
It seems to imply that the mother heard it at least the first time and knew it was happening in whatever time span it is between the first time and this event. Because it seems like there is tiny time skips in between each of these chapters. It's just very hard
Maybe a
to
few
read
days.
into it.
Yeah.
So she gets kicked out.
And who does she go to?
She
guys?
goes to her quote unquote boyfriend Hayato, who is at a bar doing a certain powdery substance. And
you can say it. This is 18 plus podcast. You can say it. It's fine.
She texts Hayato, her quote unquote boyfriend, says, "Yo, I love you. I got kicked out. I'm running away from home. What should I do?" And there's a very, I guess, like telling scene where he's talking to this bartender who's a bartender / drug dealer.
Pimp?
Yeah.
And he's the drug dealer's like, "Oh, who are you talking to?" And Hayato's like, "Oh, it's my fuck buddy," which he says like specifically. All right. So, my folks, how are we feeling about chapter 3 overall?
I want to fucking stop breathing.
This was definitely where I'm like,
I was done.
This was the part where I'm like, please
no.
let me stop reading this. I need to stop. I need a break. And I walked away for several hours before continuing.
Really? Okay. I read this in one go and was like, I'm going to hate the next hour of my life.
No, this is about where I stopped when, just after we had talked on our call. I was like,
Gotcha.
I'm going to stop.
You started reading the Bible?
Yeah, it was. This was roughly where I was like, I need the Bible. Bad.
When are we going to do a Bible podcast?
Hey,
God,
man,
I hope
shut the
never.
fuck up. Shut the fuck
Please
up.
don't say that.
We're gonna get
Do not.
Noodle a nun outfit.
That's gonna be the sluttiest
cool
nun
with
outfit
that.
ever.
I'm cool with that. I'm with
You're gonna
that.
fit some G cups and some fat ass hips into a nun outfit.
Hey, you just said H
guy.
cups. There's no
They
G
are.
cups here.
They are.
No G
I
cups
have
I got
here.
a new bra.
A slight academic background in religion, so
You took theology? Fucking nerd.
I almost got a minor in religious studies.
Damn, and then you went, nah, let's write about Fuda.
I got resized.
Turn a hard left.
So
Okay. So it's chapter 4.
Okay, so wait, how are we feeling? What's our overall opinion on chapter 3? I don't know if we were done with that.
I want to stop breathing. The worst part is it's gonna get worse.
Yeah, it just gets worse from here, folks. I don't know how to tell y'all, but
Yeah, if you couldn't see the slope already, it's too late. It's already like 90-degree straight down. You better start crying.
So, as a person that can't draw,
chapter 4, slight time skip, supposedly.
it is. We just don't know how much time has passed.
That's
maybe
probably
like
my
a
only
week?
gripe is we can't tell how long or short any of these time skips are. Because clearly each chapter is some time has passed between each one.
Yeah. She has, been kicked out of her family's house. She is now living with Hayato. Doing lots of drugs. I mean, in the 4th panel of the very first page of the 4th chapter, there is what looks like a crack pipe.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Or
I think
meth.
they're doing coke first. Let's start with coke first.
It's hard
and then
to
move
understand the
up.
progression because she
Coke
does...
isn't that addictive unless you're, white.
15-year-old Japanese girl who has never experienced drugs.
She's done a
except for
shitload of ecstasy.
Except for ecstasy.
All right. Anyway, she's dropped out. She's living with Hayato. They're doing drugs and having sex. They go back to that bar that was featured at the end of chapter 3. Bar that has the drug dealer. He gives them some drugs. Saki does, I guess, heroin for the first time or some drug. Maybe cocaine. Dealer is like, which, let me tell you, why'd they have to make the dealer black guy?
Because
stereotypes.
You know what's crazy? The author's a
Stereotypes.
Japanese American. So he definitely, it wasn't like just Japanese stereotype. He was like, oh, I'm from America, but...
Oh, Chanel's from fucking New York.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's like, he is American, so he's definitely seen white drug dealers.
And was just like, nah, they ain't good enough.
Because he went full like white lips and everything.
Drug dealer is like, Hayato owes a shitload of money, like 8 million yen, which is a good amount of dollars.
800,000 ish.
Well, that's you know what?
Roughly.
We'll just do it how they did it in 2016. We'll just chop off the last zeros.
That's what I did.
The last 2 zeros.
Is it 2?
Which Yeah, it's 2.
By
so
current
80.
standards, it would be 53,000 United States dollars.
Which, man, the yen has just plummeted. So,
The drug dealer threatens
Hayato
Saki her
to,
first line.
Yeah, gives her first line, threatens to fucking basically kill Hayato because he owes a shitload of money. And then, Saki is like, I'll pay back Hayato's debt, and then pisses herself.
This dumb.
Just
bitch.
pisses herself.
She says, I've got money. I can pay back his debt.
Yeah, and she has a decent amount of money, but it's not enough. And then, she ends up selling her body. And then, she does more drugs. They literally push her face into a pile of drugs.
Yeah. Between the first line and the next line, she starts fucking one of the other drug customer.
She gets fucked. Because he's like, I'll be your first client. And I'm like, all right, here we go.
Honestly, this is probably is the most plot light chapters in the entire story, because it's literally like she gets kicked out, she moves in with Hayato, they go to the drug dealer bar, she does some drugs, the drug dealer's like, Hayato owes a bunch of money, and she's like, well, I'll pay with my body, and that's like, the sex is like 90% of this chapter. Yeah. And then the chapter ends with her, there's also like some stuff where Hayato's like, right after you had sex, I'm gonna pierce your clit, because that's the best time to do it. I guess it's kind of makes sense, but she's now
for corruption. It makes sense.
Wait. So she gets her nipples pierced, her clip gyro girl, and
gyro girl.
I'm like, okay, I like this aesthetic, and then they tanned her, and I'm like, don't, no, not my baby, no.
Bleached her hair, got her several tattoos, and tanned.
Including one that I think is referenced later to just saying Hayato, but
under the heart on her breast.
To me, like, as much as this chapter does not have a lot of plot in it, this is like really the turning point, which will be emphasized, I think, a little bit more in the next chapter, of really the loss of innocence. Like the corruption has fully taken place. She's fully.
The beginning of this chapter is she's given into every need that Hayato has.
Oh yeah, because I stopped chaptering the notes because I just got sad. At some point, I was like, damn, I still got 115 pages left. I don't want to be here.
Yeah, this was the I need to power through this moment.
Yeah, at the end of this chapter, she's done the full Garu transformation. She's now fully prostituting herself to pay for her and Hayato's lifestyle, who, as far as I can tell, Hayato doesn't do shit.
Doesn't do a goddamn
thing.
No,
he's just a deadbeat he's kind of like a pimp, I guess, but he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, clearly his debt continues to rack up.
Yeah.
Even as she pays off his debt.
Is this where she finds out, or is it the next chapter?
It's the beginning of the next chapter. Panel 2.
Okay. Let's move forward.
Beginning of the 5th chapter, literally second panel in, she's pregnant.
So, I realized as we were talking about the incest chapter that depending on the time skip, because she says, "Oh, I've missed it for 2 months," that explains a lot. That could mean that her dad is the father.
I'm gonna guess.
I don't want to think about that.
I don't even.
I think
it's not.
Or some random.
No, it's not Hayato.
I had that thought, so I had to make you guys have that thought.
Or it's the drug dealer.
To me,
today.
Guys.
I don't think there's an implication there that it is her father. Could be the.
Yeah, it's not a heavy enough implication,
But guys,
I had that thought, so I had to put it out there.
That's fine, but we're all missing one super important point. It doesn't matter because next page, 4 or 5 pages. Hey, just get an abortion, and she's like, okay.
Well, no, she sucks Hayato's dick first. Don't forget that.
No, that's super important. How could I forget?
And he says,
I have a note.
He does call her a really good woman, so positive reinforcement.
I have a note about the abortion. So that tear that nigga drew, that Chindoel's bitch ass drew, it wasn't real, but it still hurt. I don't like that.
The what?
Tear?
The tear when she's crying, when she's getting the abortion, she starts crying.
Tear. I thought you said tear.
This ain't real, but it hurt. I don't know why.
I mean, look, I will say this, at least about the art of the story. The image of her, like, being just kind of, like, sad but neutral to I aborted the child in my belly to tearful, it's touching imagery. Because before then, it's all treated very casually. You know, she doesn't seem happy about it, but she doesn't seem that sad. And then it's like, I shed the tear for my child that is not a child.
I just wish it didn't hurt.
I agree.
Sorry to tell you, but this whole
like I'm just in like I can handle everything else fine. I'm like, ooh, this one hurt, and it's we'll get there. We'll fucking get there.
Well, okay, so
now I'm mad again.
The next part, so she, is pressured by her boyfriend to do more prostituting, and she meets up with the old guy all the way back from the second chapter. And to me, this is like one of the more poignant parts of the whole narrative, because she thinks she's like super attractive and hot shit, which I'm not saying she's not, but the old man points out a sort of thing about societal values or at least how, society values women, where he says, look at you. You look like a whore. You don't have value anymore. You're not pure. Your purity is what was attractive beforehand. You are no longer pure. You just look like a whore.
Which, you know what? Fair. If she didn't have the tattoos and piercings, still hot. Still hot. We stand our Garu queen in this house. But fuck him for being right.
I don't know where to begin.
That was a lot sooner.
What do you mean?
What?
Where'd you get lost?
I think Suna's implying that the whole gal look is at least very much so leaned upon as that is the look that people automatically assume that she is not pure anymore.
Correct. Garus are bad because they're we're gonna do a whole episode about Garus because you like them, right, Noodle? You're still here, right?
Yes, I do like them.
Yeah, we're gonna do a whole episode about that because I want to do an episode.
To be fair, Suna, the way it came off as was you were saying that's the only way they should look is innocent.
Yeah, okay. It sounded more like you were saying you agreed with the guy that the woman's value was less because she was a whore.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like you were saying. So I had to back up and retranslate what you said.
Yeah, I was
just Saki particularly.
I was a little bit shocked for a minute.
Yeah, that's why the dramatic pause.
Damn, I didn't know we were doing some slut shaming in this podcast.
I can't. I'm with Noodle, so I can't do it.
Excuse me? There's no slut shaming. I am a good Noodle. Don't
see, that's why I just said I can't do it because of you.
Good. Slut shaming. I've done nothing. Hey man,
you sure you want to be in another relationship, Mr. Hudson? You see what I'm gonna deal with?
There's a difference. You might find someone complacent. That was a joke. I'm just a fucking bitch. There's a difference.
No, because I'm attracted to that type of woman. My last ex was a fucking bitch too, so.
Hot! But understandable.
In the best way, so you know.
Understandable. I respect it.
I like a woman with a personality.
The race.
Just to kind of fast forward like 2 seconds into the manga. She has him press on her star tattoo on her stomach. Is the star tattoo her womb tattoo?
Yeah.
Technically,
yes.
Yeah.
But also, like, that's the same spot.
That's like makes her weak.
Her mom gave her the hey, here, this is for you too. And I'm like, I was kind of fucked up. Because her dad did that too. He's like, the spot should be about here. And she freaked out. And I'm like, God damn it.
I would have said the special spot. That's the weakness.
So that's her, like, response to the trauma of it?
No,
that's just something that is just affected by her biologically. It's the sweet spot.
Well, no, I meant like it's in her, like, because previous characters in her story have said, okay, this is where you're feeling it, so therefore her brain automatically assumed this spot where they're touching is my erotic zone.
Yes, you just said it weird.
Yes.
Don't be mad. He said it. He said the right thing. He just said it poorly, which is why we have misterretsim to translate.
I suppose.
So she has sex with the old dude who makes her do some kind of like degenerate shit, and also there's the whole thing where she's like, I literally just had an abortion like today and now I'm having unprotected sex again with fat old guy with his smelly weird dick. So that happens, and I think really, like we discussed, the most poignant part of that whole scene was him being like, your value is lost because you're a whore, even though previously, sometime in the past I told you that your value was in you being a hole to pleasure men.
Okay, so there was a difference. She looked innocent beforehand. She looked authentic to herself, but now she's muddled by like the corruption,
the drugs and the sex and the rock and roll.
Well, yeah, and that's like the hypocrisy of society.
There you go. Proud of you.
Of this old man telling her she's only valued for a specific thing, but she's also only valued for a specific thing if she's doing it the right way.
Which I can understand as somebody who like censors content in a specific way, but only in like a consensual way. Like I'm pulling like only a parallel from like a very tiny part of how Saki feels and what she's doing.
Yeah, you're not that far gone.
Yeah.
This definitely seems like a manga that many people can draw parallels to, but this is when you crank it up to 11 and like just
for sure. This is the full
off.
like this is the full like bad end point, I would say. For me it was bad end point.
Oh, for sure.
As someone who's read more fucked up shit, this is normal. This is
sure, if you've read,
as somebody who has written fanfic for too many years, yeah, I agree. This is not that bad. But
I was hoping you'd be like, for white women. I'm just gonna be like, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You make the comment. I just give you your money back.
Hold on. Have you seen what white women are reading lately? Do you know?
No.
I don't think he knows.
There's a new book that came out called Lights Out. The trigger warning for that for that book is a mile long. So
I don't know how big Mr. M's audience is for women, but I am sure he knows that I'm
going to be honest. I don't know if there's a single cis woman who reads any of my stories. Trans women, trans men, cis women, or cis men, NBs, all of them. I know all of them. They all read my stuff. So she leaves the old businessman after, having unprotected sex with him, day of abortion.
Also, I don't think she got paid.
She did. She gave him a discount.
She gave him a discount.
Just not as much.
Dick too good.
And she was upset Hayato would be mad at her for giving him a discount.
So she goes back.
She even lied and said, like, oh, no, the person canceled on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he skipped out on me.
She goes back to the heroin bar, presumably looking for Hayato. And he's not there, but the drug dealer, and I assume they're supposed to be like Yakuza guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
Are there.
Guys further up the chain than he is. Even.
Yes.
Because we meet Hayato, who's the bottom of the rung. Then we meet Bartender. And these guys are supposedly higher up than even the bartender.
Yes. And they give her drugs and rape her.
Yeah, they give her first
heroin this time.
They give her heroin, as far as we can tell.
They inject her with it.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah, it's like hair thing is what they say. They have like a special name for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
because can't have words.
A panel where she's like floating, which is how you know it's heroin. And then they're like, just throw her out with the trash. And that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah. Oh, I do have a note. Right, before I just ellipses and ugged.
Oh, fuck.
So he was, old man from before time was like, yeah, they're a masochist. I'm like, oh no, she has a natural nerf. Oh no, this explains so fucking much.
I feel like the masochism of like what she's getting turned on to. Granted, this is me reading into it. I feel like this is her trauma response to having been hurt earlier in her story. So she turns it into a new turn on. This is the only way she can respond is pleasure versus
I'm
realizing it's painful. But I feel like at least in this story, that's her response is, oh, I have to be turned on, or it's just painful.
I'm only gonna disagree with you slightly because old man from before showed her that, yeah, you can have good sex without drugs. And just based on what I know about masochists people, you're kind of just born with it and it has to be unlocked like a level in a video game. Or, you have to go through you do have to truly go through some shit to develop it. I'm not saying what happened to her before didn't like make her develop it. I just feel like she, in her natural state,
I understand that.
Had it.
I think it's just that, granted, obviously this is not the first hentai to ever be written, but this is one of the
sure isn't.
This is one of the bigger quote unquote stories, and I feel like this came at a time where it was still like, oh, you have to have been traumatized when you were younger to be into this thing.
I can see that, especially because the time period, how fucking old Shindoel is and when he wrote it. So yeah,
right.
No, I can see that.
That's what I'm trying to get at. Is
I respect your answer. I like mine better.
Yeah, yours is probably the more correct answer as like we have progressed and realized
she had
the
a
answer.
natural nerf, and it's like explains a lot.
Don't call it a natural nerf. There's nothing wrong with being a masochist.
As a masochist, please don't call it a fucking nerf.
Yeah, I was gonna say for people like
for
me,
her situation. Okay, no, I understand what y'all saying. For her situation in the story, it feels just like if she wasn't a masochist, maybe things would be a little different. Maybe, probably not.
Well, I mean, if she wasn't a drug addict, if she's got a lot of, if this wasn't a thing, then her life would have been better parts. I think this just happens to be the latest step of, oh, well, that's gonna suck for her later on.
As somebody who likes it when other people suffer, masochists are a blessing.
Shut the fuck up, sadist. Fucking hate
All
my
right,
life.
chapter 6, second to last chapter.
Thank you.
Saki, our protagonist, lovely, poor, innocent Saki, literally wakes up in a pile of trash.
Yep.
And says the very poignant phrase, I love the word poignant, such a good word. How many times does this make? Which, she's waking up in the trash a lot.
Implies this has happened at least once, which is crazy.
Yeah. Finds out she's been robbed, except for like a little bit of drugs. No, she goes to the guy and he's like, here's some drugs. You've been robbed. That sucks. She's been,
they really did go full Garu.
Fucked and drugged by some Johns and robbed. So she goes into the heroin bar and the heroin bar guy is like, here's some drugs. Also, I'm going to bang you. So he bangs her.
No. He's going to say, he gives her a choice, money or drugs. And she's like, yeah, I'll take the drugs. And I'm like,
Okay, hold on. She definitely takes the drugs because mid-sex scene, the drug dealer is like, you're not going to save up any money like this. You sure you should have taken the drugs? ?
Yeah.
And she says, it's fine. I want this. It feels so good. It's awesome, which, drugs are cool, but...
I hate being right.
So she takes drugs instead of money and also gets fucked by the drug dealer. She goes back to Hayato and she's like, I don't have any money. And he's like, what the fuck you mean no money? Searches her purse.
And then he grabs her purse.
Yeah. Finds the drugs, kicks her out. And then in another very sad, probably one of the sadder moments, she's outside the door crying and she's texting him apologies.
Like, please take me back. I'm sorry.
I made life so hard for you. I'll do better. Please let me in. I'll do whatever you want. I love you. Hayato. And then he blocked me.
Quick side note.
Uh-huh.
Do you think at that point he was like, well, shit.
I'm dead.
Yeah, he's like, I'm fucked. She was the only person making money. I could go try to pimp out another girl, but them niggas are gonna be on my ass tomorrow.
To me,
so I'm assuming he's just like, oh shit, I'm fucked now.
To me, Hayato comes across as somebody who has done this before. That Saki was not the first girl.
Oh, for sure.
That he has seduced and pimped out. To him, this is a roadblock. It was she went too far down. While reliant on him,
he broke her too quickly.
Yeah, he kicks her out, and then within the next couple days, he's going to be, browsing the shop that teenage girls likes to go to accidentally run into them while he's got his hair coiffed and his earring in and his shirt unbuttoned.
It does make me curious. We find out that the bartender, drug dealer, is killed or disappears because she gets a new drug dealer. So I am curious what does happen to Hayato, if he gets off and finds another girl like her, or if he is also knocked out like the drug dealer.
I'd like to hope in like the depths of my soul this nigga got.
Okay, so do we have anything else to add about the first section of chapter 6?
No, just more sadness.
Just more sadness,
Just more. Oh, it's gonna get a little worse.
Yeah.
It's gonna get a little worse.
The scene of her standing at the door, banging on it, trying to text Hayato, being like, I can be better. I still love you, blah, blah, blah. Very depressing.
It's painful.
Hell
and,
yeah.
And as somebody who has been abused and slightly in that situation of like trying to get that person back, that hurts so much seeing her just need that. Oh, my heart.
Yeah, not gonna lie, this scene definitely was another like tearjerker for me. Kind of
definitely.
Damn,
besides the
don't know what to do.
The big, well, pretty much all of chapter 7. This was probably one of the hardest scenes to read.
This was definitely the beginning of me like reading and being like, I know she wants to do better. I know she wants to do better, but she can't. It's too late. She keeps making mistake after mistake. And she keeps wanting to do better and trying failing.
It's not her fault. It's not her wrongdoing. It's her. I'm gonna call him her pimp because that's
her
not
life
her
has unfortunately led her down this worse and worse path, and now she's so far down that path that there's no turning around. And it just makes me really sad.
I agree, because she is craving acceptance and approval from people, from her peers, from people around her, and she is seeking it in the most painful ways, the wrong ways. And as bad as that is, she's still seeking and getting that approval in a fucked up way.
Yeah. By this point, practically every rung of the societal ladder has failed her. Familiar, social, school, etc. She's really at this point where all of society has failed her.
But it gets worse.
It does get worse. So we move on. She wanders the streets, now homeless, goes to a park, does some drugs and masturbates in this park at night.
Wild.
And
a couple homeless guys find her.
Yeah, she tries to get them to pay, and they're like,
"We're hobos.
You think we have money?"
Yeah, they literally said, "Do we look like we've got that kind of scratch?" But they do offer her food and bed, and she's like, "Okay." So she has drugged up sex with some homeless people, and that's a good portion of the next part of chapter 6.
Because it happens again with a different homeless dude.
Well, so
with a disease.
Well, at the end, so towards the end, they do make good on their promise.
Oh, right.
I will say
they give her a bed and a place and a roof over her head.
Yeah, and they give her food, and she eats it and throws it up and realizes that she's pregnant.
Yep.
Again,
which makes me want to cry even more.
So that's basically the other half, or like the bulk of chapter 6 is.
Oh no! You got to finish it. You got to finish it out.
No, that's
what did she decide to do?
Well, okay. So this time she decides to keep the child.
Yes.
She says, "I'll care for and raise this child, even though it might be hard." She does also say that she'll quit doing drugs.
Yes.
I'm more upset my mic can't pick up my.
The last line is, "For this child's sake, I can change."
Yeah. While it's not necessarily the best, it is at least, that the homeless guys who did fuck her, did give her.
They were true to her word.
They were.
Giving her.
They didn't just take advantage of her.
And a warm cardboard.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
They literally said, this is the only way we can pay you. She said yes, and they fulfilled it.
Let's just move to the last chapter.
Okay. Do we have anything else to say about chapter 6? No. Ends on her being pregnant, accepting it?
No, but the reflection is making me sadder than when I read it.
This episode is so long, please.
Chapter 7. She's pregnant. She
is very far along.
6, 7, 8?
Yeah. She's pregnant.
She's
7, 8 for sure.
Yeah.
She's having sex with people, just in general.
With a dude with a disease. Because he said he had a disease, and I'm like, that's wild.
Yeah, people are chastising her for being a bad mother because she's having sex with strangers while pregnant, which...
Well, he was like, say it. Say you're a bad mother for sleeping with someone for money. Like, say you're a bad mother.
Yeah.
Is what the dude says.
Yeah, he just pretty much repeatedly keeps telling her, say it, you're a bad person. You don't deserve
say you're
this.
A bad
you're
mom.
terrible.
Yeah, say you're ruining your child's life. Like, it was so fucked.
And unfortunately, she also hasn't quit her drug habit.
Sure hasn't.
And is even
She's
lost a couple teeth.
Yep.
Bro, that's what I'm gonna be real with you. That's how I mean, yeah, her whole situation is bad. When she was out here missing teeth, I'm like, oh, it's bad. Cause like, how you get so you got hit so hard, you missing a tooth? Like, what the fuck?
Well, also,
what the fuck happened this last 6-7 months?
Drugs can cause tooth loss, so
yeah.
I don't do drugs. I don't know. I'm a good boy. I drink alcohol.
Okay, so I told y'all I don't
alcohol,
smoke cigarettes anymore.
Yeah.
Nicotine and smoke fucks up your gums. Like, you can lose teeth if you smoke cigarettes for too long.
You get receding gums.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm smoking for 10 years, honey. I know.
I was smoking for longer than that, so... yeah, no. Any kind of, anything that you're smoking, especially if it's, chemical, like drugs and cigarettes have a tendency to be, fucks up your teeth and gums, so...
Yep.
But I like my teeth.
She's trying her best, though, and she's like, just a little bit to take the edge off, and then I'll be good for a little while.
Yeah. She goes, she buys drug.
Yeah.
So after that is sort of
the to be fair, point. Before, to walk into this, she does buy drugs.
She buys drugs.
She manages to not spend all the money she got from this last gentleman. And she goes to some kind put
of
it in her locker,
public locker, or locker that
Coin
she
locker.
Rents because she is homeless.
Yeah.
Where she has a bunch of money stored up that she's specifically saving and is doing a good job to...
Doing that fucking great. She had millions of yen in that bitch. Yeah. And I'm like, damn.
For her baby. And then some...
Especially for a drug...
Yeah.
For a drug seeker.
Some old classmates of hers find her.
Yep.
Now,
I wouldn't say old classmates of hers because they're dressed in school uniforms. I want to say they're just random hooligans.
It actually
those are the kids from
they
her
really?
class. Those are her
when
classmates.
You look back, it does look like them, but it's even said that these are her former classmates.
Yes.
When you look up summaries and the author even says so.
On the Wikipedia, it says she runs into her former classmates.
So even she is so far gone that even they don't recognize her.
Yeah.
That's so painful.
They assume that because she's homeless, she must have stolen the money and therefore doesn't deserve it, and also that she's a bad person. So
I'm not even sure if it's assumed. It's more like, we can blame it on her stealing.
Well, yeah. They beat the shit out of her, stomp on her pregnant stomach, and also shove a bottle.
Rape her with a bottle.
Yeah, rape her with a bottle.
Yeah,
and steal all the money that she saved up. So she goes, finds some glasses. They might have been her glasses. puts them on.
I feel like I my own personal canon is that she kept her original glasses because she truly couldn't see, and she just like put them on occasionally when she needed to.
I'm not even my reading of this. She's broken so far that even these glasses are a figment of her imagination, because as the panels go on, she sees her previous self. So I'm not even sure if the glasses themselves are real.
I think the glasses
it's just
are real.
another step.
So
I
this
like
is
to
where
think they're
our
real.
endings differ, because I got a different ending.
Yeah, because you read that JoJo's ending.
So I read the JoJo ending, which Shindo was like, yup, it's canon too. And I'm like, all right, we take these.
So
small victories.
They all leave her. She assumes, probably correctly, that the baby in her stomach is dead. In her womb.
Oh, that baby was dead months ago when she was doing all the drugs.
Not necessarily. It just probably would have been.
You can have that's why there's crack babies.
Fucked up.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's crack babies.
She goes into the bathroom of, like, presumably the place that she rented this locker from.
Yeah, probably the subway bathroom. Or
she shoots up all the drugs that she has in one go. And as she's dying, she sort of daydreams, fantasized about what life would have been like if she had managed to successfully give birth to a healthy baby and turn her life around, and it's sort of a happy thing. And then it ends with
the glasses on the floor.
It's her.
Yes.
No, she's talking about that.
Her strewn glasses next to several drops of blood and other fluids,
with a single speech bubble that's several ellipses. And then glad, as she overdoses and is dead.
Yeah, no, she's turbo dead.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still sad.
It is very sad. The whole thing.
I definitely teared up reading these last few pages.
This is the point that did get to me more than really anything, was just the sad ending. But it's also sort of my biggest criticism as the thing as a whole.
Is that a little too ambiguous for you?
No, the ending is not ambiguous. She daydreams about what life could have been like if she had managed to turn things around, and she died. My whole thing is that the story just, from the very beginning, just goes down a grimdark path. I think it would have been more like...
For us?
I think it just would have been like... Because at this point, with everything shitty that has happened, I think you just like expect that it was going to have a shitty ending, which to me lessened the blow of like she overdosed and died, because honestly by like the 4th or 5th chapter you're like, yeah, that's probably how she's gonna go. I think it would have been a stronger statement to have that ending daydream maybe not have been a daydream or implied of a happier ending, instead of it just being like a slowed down trot of just like grim dark sadness.
Okay, I see that. I see where you're coming from.
I fully understand, but there's still like the artist being like, there, like situations like that still happen.
I was gonna say it's definitely a like 50-50. This is definitely one of those, like, it could have ended with just this daydream and her dying, or it could have ended with this being the actual future. And I feel like it would have made a large portion of the audience mad either way. Like if she had turned it all around,
situation.
Yeah, if she had turned it all around, people would have been like, yeah, but that's not how it usually ends. And if it had ended like it does, a lot of people would have been like, as you are, Mr. M. Well, we still could have had it be a happy ending regardless.
I do agree to some degree. I do feel, from a writing perspective, that if there were more notable like highs and lows, rather than it being almost a consistent just downward slope the entire time, then the ending of her dying and not getting this life that she dreamed of would have been more meaningful. But because that, like, it's already just like depression for 7 whole chapters, there's not really a happy scene between anything, or if there are, it's fleeting at best. Then like the daydream before the death just feels like shooting a corpse that's been long dead, like
beating a dead horse.
Yeah, it doesn't have as much.
I'm glad they put her out of her misery.
Yeah, I mean, like she's probably happier dead at this point, but from a writing style point, it just is like, at one point it just becomes like shittiness for the sake of shittiness. Like, there's no lessons learned, there's no moral for her.
Don't do drugs,
The
kids.
bad man
Don't
doesn't learn a
don't
lesson.
talk to strangers, kids.
I mean,
I think
sure,
this-
there's overall
no-
morals, but the character
Yeah.
needs to embody it to a certain extent. And it feels like she's almost like on her way there. And I think if Metamorphosis had continued past chapter 7, towards like chapter 7 being a turning point where, like, I don't know, maybe her life gets kind of better to some degree.
where she takes no longer being a drug addict and becomes more of a person for her baby.
Yeah, well, even that, like, you could still write in, like, she lost her baby, maybe she's infertile now, infertile now, and that kind of thing haunts her forever, but she gets to live a relatively normal life, you know, she finds a guy who accepts her, whatever. Like,
this definitely is,
Or she
I
dies
think
to
it's a story of the times that it came out in, is that nobody wants a happy, well, I mean, quote unquote, nobody wants a happy ending for this kind of story. This is just, when this was written, this is where it would have happened, no matter who wrote it at this story 10 years ago.
It kind of makes me think of like the bad ending for High School Days.
School days?
School Days, thank you so much.
Oh, why would
School
you
Days.
bring that up?
But it gives me the same feeling, like the same bad feeling ending.
Wait,
it
is
gives
the
me that
anime the
same-
bad ending or the neutral ending?
The anime is the ultra bad ending.
Oh, don't cheat on your fucking girlfriend, dude.
Don't cheat on a yandere! It should have been your first thought!
Alright. Pulling back to the
fair.
Thank you. Sorry.
Metamorphosis.
No, I've been holding my words for a hot second. Puce.
Yes.
For not for once. We agree sometimes. I'm gonna agree with you. I didn't almost tear up because I knew what the fuck was gonna happen, but I was really sad. And what made me like sadder this time, I'm like, oh, she had a name picked out for the baby. She was ready to change her shit. And I'm like, now I'm sad because fuck. If it's nameless, you're still kind of like, but you gave it a name, which is hard to do. At least naming things is hard to do for me. And I'm like, oh shit, this is real. Now I'm in real pain.
From an erotic point of view, it also just like loses its luster as time goes on.
Oh yeah, no, the first time I read this, I'm like, all right, it's gonna be a good fap. I can't get my dick hard. My dick won't get hard, guys. Am I broken?
I think they make
Am I the broken
medicine
one?
for that.
No, wait. That was my question.
What?
You're ruining it. My ultimate question was, how did you find Metamorphosis? Who told you? What?
The internet.
What inspired you to talk about it? Or want to see it?
You mean initially or when Puce brought it up?
Either or. That was my question.
Oh.
Was what inspired you to seek it out and read it?
Oh, niggas kept talking about it, so I'm like, I guess I gotta read it because niggas been talking about this for fucking oh god, that was back when I lived with my mom.
See, I had the
People have
exact
been talking about
opposite
this
reaction.
since like 2016, so I'm like, I guess I might as well read it. Then I read it and like, what's wrong with people?
I had the exact opposite reaction. People were like, oh, this story's super fucked up. Oh my god, I can't believe what happened. And I'm like, I'm not gonna find out what happens.
And then you said, hey, we should do this. And I told you, no, unless you give me money. And then you gave me money. So I'm like, well, I guess we're doing this.
Yeah, I'd heard about Metamorphosis many a year ago. And as a millennial who grew up during the Live League era, I was used to seeking out really fucked up stuff just to see if it would affect me. So I read it many a year ago, and I remember thinking, wow, this is kind of messed up, but not that special. And then I reread it now, at my ripe old age of something.
As an adult.
No, I mean, I was an
adult.
When this manga was finished in 2016, I was in my 20s already. Like, this didn't come out when I was a child. Going back to the eroticism of this story, I found it very not erotic. Not really to my taste, though my tastes are very specific. Like I mentioned earlier,
sad.
The one thing that I liked was when, even, like, the only thing I liked even remotely was when the old guy in the second chapter was like, is my dick bigger than your boyfriend's? Because that's kind of like my shit as a hyper writer, so I'm all about the bigness. Outside of that one like panel, didn't do a thing. I read this while I was eating dinner. Twice.
That's wild.
Hot.
Saki's cute, and that's kind of where it ends.
Saki is cute.
I mean, they did a good job at making Saki. Shindo did a good job at making Saki like a attractive, cute, and then, you know, hot Garu character.
Although,
and then dead.
I will say, her as a mom, consensually can get it. We stand MILFs in this house, too.
I mean, that's fair.
Noodle.
She just looks like her mom from the earlier panels, but without the stress lines around the eyes for some reason.
Because that's her ideal future.
We take those around here. All right. With all that, it is time for last call. For the uninitiated, last call is any final thoughts, questions, concerns, or opinions we have on the topic at hand. I will start because I feel like I'm in the most pain. You know what? It's not that bad. It's just, here's some depression for you. And I'm like, fuck, he doesn't know. And I can't tell him it's not fucked up. It's sad because then he'll just be like I don't want that. And I'm like, you know what? Fine. Okay. This bitch is going to suffer with us.
I understand it's not the deep part of the pool. It's not the deep, dark oceans. It's the shallow part. But for general internet goers, this is the deep, dark end of the pool.
I don't think that's true anymore. Maybe once upon a time. But
I don't know. You bring up Metamorphosis amongst the casual internet person, and they may know what it is, but they still think it's dark and depressing and the deep end.
That's because they're a basic normie. They don't know any better. They watch
literally what I just said, anime. But okay.
Noodle, you go.
I have a question. At what point would you have noticed that she was starting to spiral full?
Like, what do you mean? Like,
she was starting to be a whore. Like, suddenly you notice that this sweet, supple girl is just being normal, and then suddenly she's being a whore. Yeah. Would you notice her suddenly become a whore?
Yeah, right away. Easy.
And if she had, would you have been like, hey, are you okay? Is everything alright? Would you have done that? I'm just curious.
Like, as a
you
teenager?
Could say no.
As a teenager?
Are you asking everyone or just Mr. Retsum?
Everyone.
As a teenager?
All right, Mr. Retsum, you start.
I don't know that I would have done anything because being a teenager is awkward, and also, like, I had friends that, like, obviously didn't go down the brutal metamorphosis route, but, like, were doing some shit like this at that age, and I can just say from experience I didn't really do that much because in my brain it wasn't really, like, my business. Instead, I was just, like, enjoying the parties at their house. I probably would have noticed, like, pretty quickly. I am, perhaps it's the undiagnosed tism, but I am very aware of how people are reacting and acting to things around me because I had trained myself to learn that. So I would pick up on these, like, slight things. I can't say I would have necessarily been like, I would have jumped in and saved the day, because that's not true. I know myself, especially I know teenage me. But I would have noticed it, and I might have reached out and been like, hey, if you need a friend, I'm always here. But I wouldn't have been like my white knight in shining armor to somebody. Just, that's the truth. Like, I'd love to say, like, I would have stepped in and beat the shit out of her boyfriend, which, you know, if I was me in Japan, I probably could have, because I'm a quite large individual.
For sure.
Yeah, you're a 6+ foot guy, right?
Yes. Also, I wasn't like that as a teenager. Now, as a blah, blah, blah adult, yes, I probably would step in and do something, but that wasn't me at, you know, when Saki started this shit, she's like 14, 15. 14, 15 me?
Yeah, she's going into high school.
I was concerned with getting pussy. All right? I wasn't trying to impede on anybody else's sex life. I knew one of my good friends at 14 dated a 19-year-old dude and was like sleeping with him. And we were all just like, oh, that's kind of rad. Like, you got an older boyfriend. It didn't really dawn on us until later that, like, it's really creepy that, like...
Oh, no, that's a problem.
That's a problem. Like, that's weird.
Puce, answer Noodle's question.
Pretty much same as Mr. M. I would probably ask, hey, you doing all right? Probably wouldn't be the white knight to save the person, unfortunately.
And then you'd feel really guilty about it years later when you heard that she died of a drug overdose.
Yeah, pretty much.
Why would you do that to him? Like, leave him alone.
Because Puce is like me. Me and Puce, we're like brothers from another mother. Puce is the twin that I ate Puce is the twin that I killed in the womb to absorb its essence, but the soul went to another body.
Realistically, I also would be like, I'd just be like, are you good? You okay? You've been weird. But I do that with all my friends, even in high school. I would say a high school student would definitely try to fuck. Would try to help, but would try to fuck.
Oh, so you'd be amongst the blackmailing group of males.
Not gonna blackmail her though, because that's a lot of work. You gotta have evidence and like actually have the evidence. I would just.
He'd be that guy who walked up like as another guy's fucking her and be like, "Oh, okay, I'm in line."
Probably.
Wouldn't have known what was going on. He just would have gotten in line.
Nope.
What the fuck?
Probably. Or just ask like, what are we doing here, guys? Why are we out in the open?
To be fair, they probably would have just been like, oh, fucking her. I don't think they'd admit to blackmail right off the bat.
Yeah, probably not.
Oh, for sure. They would not.
What about you, Noodle? What would you do?
Yeah, sure.
Noodle, would you carve whore into her desk?
That's a lot.
Oh my god. No, I would not have.
That's a lot of work.
People do it still.
Low key, like on some truly real shit, I'd be like, all right, bitch, you act weird around the girls, so you must have like nerdy guy hobbies. So like, what are you into? I won't tell. Just what the fuck do you do?
Hey, to be fair,
she was a fucking weeb.
Yeah, she does try to cover up
weeb.
her weeb hobbies early on, where she's like, "Hi, I'm blah blah blah. I'm into reading and game. Oh, nope, shopping." That's like the very first chapter.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just like, oh, right, forgot about this.
And I would have been like, damn, this bitch is a loser.
My type of woman.
Same.
Me too.
Look, in high school...
What, you fucking noodle? Fuck you.
In high school...
we get it. You were the cool jock.
No, I wasn't a jock. I did, however, date 2 different women in high school who didn't believe in evolution, so...
Damn, that's wild.
All right. With
insane,
that, Mr. Retsim, for the third time, where can the people find you before?
What's up? My name is Mr. Retsim. You can find me at twitter.com/MrRetsim. Well, that's the word Mr. forward and backward. You can find me at AO3 Mr. Retsim, Literotica Mr. Retsim, Hentai Foundry Mr. Retsim, Blue Sky Mr. Retsim. Patreon, that's the most important one, Mr. Retsim. I'm all over the place, motherfucker. Go out, find your local right-wing politician and assassinate them for me. Hell yeah.
Hot. Is it Mr. Retsim as in IMSTER, or is it MR?
It's MISTERRESTIM. No, that's wrong. MISTERMITSER. No, that's wrong too.
Yep,
MISTERMETSIM. It's the word Mr.
Just give us your tea tree. It's a
spelled out.
It's a fucking.
I don't have a little tree. I'm lazy.
So D.A.R.E is gonna get us out of here. Everyone just say bye.
Thanks, guys. If you like what you heard, search Lusty Lounge on any podcast platform. If you think we did a good job at hosting, you can always buy us a drink on our Ko-fi. And if you want more of the lounge, subscribe to the Patreon for uncut and bonus episodes like this one.
Just say it. Smash or pass.
hell yeah.
Fucking her behind
Respect.
her classroom.
Doujin style.
Which?
No, she's... I can't remember her backstory.
As always, Don't let the door hit you on your way out. It's very heavy. Until next time, bye-bye.